Sure. Hey, how's everybody doing? Good. Cool, good to hear. Mike McFarland here. I am a voice actor, a voice director, an adaptive scriptwriter. I do a bunch of other stuff too. That's like those three are plenty for this particular panel.
Master Roshi!
Voice of Master Roshi and all of the Dragon Balls. All Dragon Balls. What about that one? That one too. It's a Dragon Ball, so it's me. John Kirstein in Attack on Titan, who's, I believe, celebrating his birthday today.
Oh, yay!
Happy fictional birthday. Buggy the Clown from One Piece. That is also me.
I like you said fuck.
Huge promotion. Let's see. I'm on from Tokyo Ghoul. A bunch of stuff. I'm also a voice director. I've worked on Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and Mushishi, and One Piece, and Attack on Titan, and tons and tons of other stuff. And I've been really, really lucky, and I have worked on some really awesome stuff. Most recently, Chainsaw Man, which was a really fun show. It's a great show.
Awesome. My name is Erica Shroeder. I've been voice acting for like 20 years. It's been a lot of fun. Before that, I did a lot of theater, regional theater, Broadway, off-Broadway, as a musical theater actor, and also as a straight actor, meaning straight plays. That's what we call it, straight. Anyway.
So the non-musical plays.
Yeah, non-musical plays. So I was the original Blaze the Cat in Sonic the Hedgehog, the first 7 games, which was a ton of fun. And I'm gonna meet Erica today, the current voice actress, so I'm very excited to meet her. I was the original Luffy in One Piece in 2003, oh my gosh, a long time ago. Also Dark Magician Girl, My Valentine, and Akiza Izinski in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, and I don't know, I just, all that stuff just kind of runs together and you forget everything.
You go to gig to gig and you're like, yes, I'm here for the thing.
Yes,
you're in
I'm
this
here
thing.
for the
Of course
thing.
I'm in that thing.
It's so hard to talk about yourself sometimes, but
Yeah.
I'm just super excited to be here with these 2 awesome gentlemen.
Woohoo! Thank you very much. I usually start this panel by having everyone raise their hands if you think that dubs are better than subs. And then having everyone raise their hands for people who think that subs are better than subs are
So
better than
you
dubs.
immediately turn into warfare, like
Yeah.
straight off the top.
But then I turned it back on everyone and say you're both wrong. But I'm not going to do that out of respect for my guests here today. I'm just going to talk about it.
Well, now I feel like I'm neglected.
Have you all stew in that. Basically, this panel is to educate you on the process of dubbing from maybe property acquisition to scripting to adaptation to eventually getting an actor in the booth and whatever pre-production and all that sort of thing. I have only been directing, I think, for maybe 2.5 years, and I'm directing a show this season. Lead director on a show this season, but I don't think I can say what that is. But I directed season 4 of Data Live, if anyone cares. And thank you so much, one person.
Thank you for dating A-Live.
Yes. Anyway, so I imagine with these people here, and especially with Mike here, who I've worked with several times, I will explain this process poorly, and then I will go Mike, and then he will tell you what actually happens.
That was really good.
Great. Cool. So I guess in case you all don't understand, in case you never watched, I guess, a YouTube video on the process of dubbing anime, to start off with, the big difference is that there's dubbing and there's with ADR, which is I always forget it, automatic dialogue replacement.
Automated dialogue replacement.
Now, I will throw in my 2 cents on this. I say, because there's like the ADR acronym is up in the air, additional dialogue replacement. It's not automatic because I have to be there and you have to be there and someone has to do it. It's not a button you push and it just automatically happens. Additional dialogue. So it's in addition to the dialogue that was there to begin with. Let's say, for instance, you're shooting a movie somewhere and it's outside and a helicopter flies over. You're making additional dialogue to what was there to begin with, because what was there to begin with has got helicopter noises on top of it. And for another language, there's another language there, so it's additional dialogue.
Excellent. I love
And
that.
actually, instead of R for replacement, recording, because we're not replacing it. I guess in the instance of like the ADR with the helicopter, that would be replacement. But for dubs, we're recording because we're not replacing, because you can still just and get that other audio track on there.
I like that. And as it relates to animation, there's the difference between like ADR and prelay is that you have prelay animation is when you've already recorded the voice of the actor and then they set the animation to the voice. And that sometimes can end up being what we call a scratch track, where you set the animation to the voice and then you sometimes will have to come back in to do ADR for the final product. But as far as what we're doing in dubbing anime, it is awesome dubbing recording ADR. You didn't laugh at all at Mike, and I'm ashamed. Thank you, Erica. Appreciate you. So yeah, in terms of like that's those one of them pays a lot of money. That's prelay. Generally pays.
It can
pay more money.
It can
than dubbing, but. Yeah, everything that we work on has already been animated with an original voice actor in Japan, and then we are that we get, I think at the studio we of course get the at least a rough video, since now we're in the age of simulcast where we're having to work with things maybe that are animation that isn't quite finished, or if we dub something for streaming and then we have to come back in and get pickups for final animation when it's time to go to DVD release. But for the most part, we have a translated script, a rough translation with the time code where everyone starts speaking, and then we have adapters that basically in an Excel spreadsheet create a column of line numbers, time code, which is the hour, minute, second frame when anything happens, and everything is documented in the center column, which is a character dialogue. Of course, you got the name of the character dialogue, and then notes from the writer.
And depending on which part of the world you're in, the frame rate will be different.
Oh yeah.
That's
Also, whether or not if it's a movie or television.
awesome.
Should we do the beeps for them? How about I do the low one and you do the high one? You do the high one.
Why do you think
Ready?
I'm being high?
I think it would be more entertaining.
Okay.
Ready?
I'll do the high one.
This is what they sound like. Beep, beep. Sometimes that does happen.
Yeah.
And then we speak on the fourth beep. I may have gotten ahead of you.
No, it's all good. Yes, speak on the imaginary fourth beep, which I find that those things are not always in the right place either, and I'm just basically trying to correlate
I know,
things
right?
to the image. It's weird. But yes, every sound, every little, all that stuff is all documented in a secret code. That it's like either CT, clenched teeth, CM, closed mouth, OM, which is open mouth. It can be OC. Sometimes, depending on where the notation is, OC could mean off camera, it could mean
It's supposed to be over the cut.
Over the cut.
Yeah.
Did
But-
you know that it's the same in Texas and LA, but in New York it's different?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh my
acronyms and a
gosh.
lot of stuff are like slightly
So
different
different.
place to place.
Yeah.
So when you work
if
in
your
3
character-
different cities, you get really confused as to like which one you're working
And also in LA, this is my understanding, in LA that instead of ellipses, which are like a dot to indicate a space, because generally when you're dubbing anime in the script, like periods and commas almost mean nothing, except for changing direction of thought or intention or meaning. But when you have a dot and ellipses, that means you're supposed to take a hop break. And then I heard in LA they use little carrots, like little.
I will tell you, as someone who has adapted LA scripts before, I have received a large chart with about 30 different characters to indicate
God.
different lengths of the pause, to which I go, they're gonna get these two.
That's too many.
That's way too many, it's too specific.
Be focusing on timing instead of on acting. And
Yeah.
You want to focus on acting first, always.
Yeah, and I'm all about the ellipses because I want my page of dialogue to look like I'm reading a book or reading a script, and when you start throwing carrots and other stuff in it, then it starts to look too technical and not like you're reading a script.
It's
Yeah,
true.
it's also wild because I think this only started happening in the past few years. They've started adding, the writer will add an asterisk inside of your dialogue for that correlates to a note about shorter or longer line options for rewrites.
Yeah.
And it hurts my little tiny acorn brain.
There's an asterisk that is sometimes put in the script. Let's say, for instance, like you need to get out of here, and the word "here" might have an asterisk by it, and in the the last column or underneath it or something like that, little asterisk of this place. So like, you gotta get out of here, it's too short, you gotta get out of this place, it's a little bit longer. These are things that you can switch out depending on the pacing of the actor and how they're talking and all that kind of stuff. And the eyeball of the director who might say, that's not enough words. We need to cram it where it looks like there's 50 words per individual flap.
Oh yeah.
Cocaine reads.
Wow. Yeah, and but I would definitely, in the script, I would definitely prefer to have like full alt lines that you can just go delete and like choose the longer alt as opposed to asterisking bottle in there. Anyway, once the script has been adapted, then the show is given to a director, and then that director will do whatever research that they choose to, whether that is reading the manga, going online and legally reading the manga, or definitely, I mean, watching the show and reading Wikipedia pages and trying to figure out what's going on. And then there's a certain amount of collaborative process between the writer and the director, figuring out the tone of the show before you even go into depending on, like, if the characters are stuck in a like period vernacular, if it's Victorian, if it's modern, if there's one character that if it's an isekai and someone's a fish out of water and speaks with a Brooklyn accent and everyone else is stuck in Victorian England. So yeah,
I love when that happens.
Yeah. So a little there's the collaborative. Yes, there's a collaborative effort there, and then the director, based on whatever everything they know about the show and trying to create an ensemble effort, will almost like a conductor for a symphony, will choose. I mean, this is my your process may be different. I try to choose voices that play well off each other. I definitely want to try to honor the Japanese performance, but if I've got a character that is like rail thin, but in the Japanese like it's like way down, it's clearly not going. It looks unnatural to a Western audience, and I guess that brings up a point. How honor bound do you feel, and where do you draw the line in? Have you directed before?
A little bit for video game stuff.
In terms of bringing, because part of our job is to bring the stories to a Western audience. And sometimes there are jokes that, because it's a wordplay in Japanese, don't quite land. In order to make it funny, you've got to, without changing story or character, make an adjustment. I am an idiot, and therefore choose to lean more towards bringing it to a Western audience. Once again, without like still honoring the original source material. But how do you feel about that?
So it's a balance, right? I mean, I don't change dialect that often. I am a voice coach, so I'm constantly coaching people for prelay, auditions and stuff like that. And that's a totally different situation. That's more of like, do you have an improv background? You can add a little bit of pepper and a little bit of stuff. But in terms of like me as an audience member, I like a balance. I think it's important to honor the original always. Then I think it's also a good idea to find the sensitivity, of the new audience. Like when they do with DreamWorks and stuff, they have the adults bringing in the kids. They're always giving like 80s and 90s references to us so that the parents enjoy it as much. And I think it's important to be able to relate to the audience. Mike, I'm sure you have much more to say on this.
I don't have more to say. These were all good
Beep.
to say. I think it depends. I have seen something taken to an extreme where the jokes and puns and stuff that are deeply embedded in Japanese culture, like, this is a pun because of a 4th century emperor and this other food thing that we have over here that's like a Kit Kat or something, and they rhyme, and we don't have that. I have seen dubs where they do the exact thing like that, and then like a little pop-up video, no, like, these things rhyme in Japanese, and like, explain the joke. That's how you make it really funny. Because it always works in everyone's stand-up routine. You see, what happened was, but as you just did, displayed right then, sometimes it is funny because it's so awkward to do it that way, like, this is why this is funny. Or there is going for the intention. The intention is that there's a joke here. And the joke has to be funny enough because the other 7 characters all go, wah, and their feet fly up in the air, and then they fall down and they have like a big groaning noise. So you have to have something that's that dad joke enough to justify a bunch of people going, that's the worst thing I've ever heard, and fall over like that.
Okay, let me. I'll ask you this. This is a hypothetical question. So I was ADing My Dress Up Darling, and there was a point in the show when our female protagonist is taking the male protagonist out shopping, and she has him try on this black shirt that has flames that are crawling up, and it absolutely looked like something Guy Fieri would wear. And so I was working with Amelie, and it just occurred to me, like we got an alt that I wrote that was, that shirt makes my heart go doki doki all the way to Flavortown.
I think you got the thumbs up.
I see. That's what I'm saying. But man, it got shot down. So what is it like? If I'm your AD and I come to you with this solid comedy gold, what are you gonna do?
When I come to you with bulletproof jokes, do you try to make bullets go through them? I don't know. Like, it depends. It depends every single time. It depends on what you're working on. It depends on the line. It depends on the situation. It depends on, like, if it's so much that it's calling attention to itself and does not help the show as a whole. Like, there's a whole bunch of things to consider.
Yeah.
That is a funny joke, though. I would laugh at that joke, and then I would have to consider whether or not I'd keep it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let me present another hypothetical to you. Let's say that you are directing season 4 of a show,
yeah.
And seasons 1 through 3, the pronunciations for names of names are all over the map. Okay. And you have the option to when a new character is introduced in the fourth season of the show, and you have the option to have a person mispronounce the name and then get corrected. And it weaves in there, but like somehow, basically Spider-Man No Way Home, everything into a nice, cute package, so that everything makes sense over the course of 7 movies.
I don't know, man. I think I would have to go back and look at those first 4 seasons and see if there was even like one that was 55% versus 45%, and then go with the 55.
If it's something the fans are talking about and are aware of, I think that'd be a great opportunity.
I take a lot of effort and research into making sure that the names are pronounced as correctly as possible within whatever culture that it is. So if it's Japanese names, I don't want to do a Western take on it. I don't want to have a hard American R. Yeah. I don't want to do those things. I want to make it sound as close to what it sounds like in the native language. With Attack on Titan, there's a bunch of names that are German, and I wanted to have those with a Germanic pronunciation rather than like American. Well, like Huba instead of Huber and things like that.
Yeah, that's
so I try to honor wherever the story takes place and wherever those things are from, and I do a lot of research on it. I still have people like, that's absolutely wrong, and like, I don't think it is, but I have those above me that are my research team, and then I have translators and everybody else that's just going, no, that's right. I'm like, cool. But yeah, I do my best, but as in a situation where it's all over the place, which would drive me crazy to begin with. Like if someone calls you Aaron Roberts and someone calls you Aaron Roberts, and it just goes back and forth.
Both are correct.
I'm like, what?
That would drive me insane. Yeah. There was a show, Ultraman Tiga. It was the first dub I ever did. It was a live action dub, and the character's name was, someone's gonna have to tell me, because it was either Rena or Reina, and we dubbed it for the first 6 episodes as one, and then we were like on episode 7, and they were like, actually it's, and it was the other one. So I actually got
a kick.
R-E-N-A.
Yeah, if it's Japanese, that would be Reina.
Yeah, so like, I guess we probably did Rena and then it became Reina, but like we didn't do any Japanese pronunciations, unfortunately. But what was funny was I got a cameo request like maybe 3 years ago for this character. I had to research my own character online for like 8 episodes to find anyone who said her name. It was ridiculous. I was like, wow, I should charge like 10 times my money for this cameo.
Well, good for you. Good for the effort. Great.
I think more effort should go into it than like, play it again, play it one more time.
Yeah.
That's how we're saying. But your ear didn't hear it right. I'm sitting here right next to you, and you said we're going to say it this way. I'm like, but that's not. They didn't do that 3 times in a row, and you still heard it wrong.
Yeah,
So don't say, maybe don't do it that way.
It's funny with the Pokemon pronunciations because I pronounce like 60 different Pokemon.
Yeah.
And even that, sometimes the director will hear it differently than me, and we'll have to do it many times, and then we have like a Pokédex that has the correct pronunciation. So it's a process, and you should be taking the time to do it correctly.
I also think that your brain has a preconceived notion when you see a romanized version of a Japanese word that this is not how it's written in Japanese. But to me, it's weird. Like if it's on the flip side, if it's the word stop, S-T-O-P. Like play it again. It's stoop, right? No, it's not stoop. Why do you hear stoop?
Yeah. There was a character in the show whose name was Isaac. And as I think most of us know, Ike is a familiar, shortened version of that name. But the pronunciation throughout the series went back from Ike to Ike to Ike to Ike. It was incredible.
But was it supposed to be based off Isaac?
Yes, 100%. In the Japanese, they're saying Ike.
Wow.
It's insane.
I want to meet the person that says no. We're going to do EK.
Me too. I don't think they work anyway. Anymore.
Not Mike. That's Mike.
That's right. That's Mike. Anyway, so hopefully, I guess I'm leading to the process. Go through casting, like the director, and it's completely arbitrary. It makes no sense, as far as I know, as an actor. I'm kidding. You build an ensemble and try to create voices that sound great with each other and that play well with each other, and then when you get the actor into the booth, assuming you've been cast, you set the voice, which I mean, and usually a lot of people will just naturally that have been doing this for a long time or have great instincts will find the voice immediately and have it live in a place that is a place of truth for the actor and for the character. And then, and if not, then you make adjustments and say, like, we need to pitch it up, we need to make it lighter, or we need to drop it down a little bit. Or just so you know, like, you can set the voice here, but you've got to maintain this for a long time. It has a lot of lines. It's like,
Don't pick this one.
don't think that. Like, I can do, like, I'm gonna be on you like a hobo on a hot dog. And I can do that for about maybe 2 hours before things get a little froggy. Maybe 4. But so you've got to set the voice for longevity, for your own personal health, and for also for your recording hours.
I want to talk about like references and then also switching directors and what that can do sometimes. Like if you don't have proper references. So like so we get something called a ref.
From your previous performance.
From our previous performance, or sometimes people will save like 5 lines from the very original episode. I guess everybody does it differently. And if if it's been 6 months since you played this character, you're not really sure what they sound like, you can say, may I have a ref, please? And they'll play you as many cues as you would like. There's sometimes they just play you 1 and you're like, that's not enough.
Sometimes the one they play you is.
One word. How often that happens, or it's a line where you're screaming or whispering, and you're like, but what do they sound like normally?
Yeah,
right.
That's wild. I went in to record on the show, and all of the lines for the character were off screen at the top, and I was just based on what I heard, the audio, was trying to create something that I felt honored that. And so I recorded the lines, and then my character came on screen, and I was like, oh my God, this does not match this character at all. And sometimes as an actor, you don't necessarily feel like you have, and it depends on your relationship with the director, but you don't feel like you have agency to say, hey, this sucks, and we need to go back and change it because this is not going to be, and I was trying to modulate what I'd already tracked, and what I knew with how the character actually needed to sound.
Puberty was happening over a period of 30 seconds.
I couldn't even read words. I was having the most difficult time getting through the session, and I was so glad when I realized what was happening and that we weren't going to go back and that this was going to sound like trash. That I looked over and saw that it was like so-and-so, something, like C. And I was like, oh great, no one's ever gonna know this was me. Like this will be like, that's the director, like this will be an additional voice credit, and I'm fine. And I got through the session and left, like, hopefully, I mean, and I'm definitely the kind of director that if you've got a better take, let's go ahead and get that and let me know immediately. And even if you like shoot one off, if you shoot a takeoff and you immediately know that that was garbage or you're not proud of it, at the end, you're not going to be at the end of the day, let me know immediately. How do you feel about that?
I think it depends on where you are. I think you have to get to know your director.
Yeah.
Because I've also been in situations where, like, time is of the essence. And if I complete that thing and get from beginning to end and it fits, they love it.
Yeah.
So
It is true.
So I will, if I know that I did something wrong, I might throw an entire wrench in my take. When something's about, I messed up, I'm so sorry, and then string all of that together where they cannot use that one.
Oh my
so then we have to go back and do it
that's
again.
a good technique that I'm gonna try.
I'm so sorry, I messed that word up. They can't use that.
That's amazing. There was this one time, this is so bad, this story, but I did this children's series where I played 5 different characters. The mother, the grandmother, 2 of the friends of the children, and then they added a third of the children. So I was playing 2 different boys, and one of them was kind of like pinched and sort of nerdy, and the other one was kind of husky and lower. And I had 3 different directors working on the project.
Mm-hmm.
And one director was sure that it was one way, and one director was sure that it was another. So thankfully they were ancillary characters, but literally like every 5 episodes, I'd be with a different director, they'd be like, no, it's this. And I'd be like, okay. Like, they didn't have references, so like, these 2 characters were swapping voices and personalities like every 5 episodes. I mean, the audience was preschool, but still, you know those kids were like, that's his voice in his body, you know what I mean?
It's freaky
It's
Friday.
just like a classic like case of directors not communicating well together, and that's like my biggest criticism that happens sometimes. I've never had that experience with Funimation or Crunchyroll. Like, you guys seem to really be on par with each other.
We try.
But I have worked with other companies that sometimes the directors don't communicate enough, and that's rough, especially if you don't have a good pile of references for the character.
It's also a combination of it's a combination of not communicating, and then being very sure of yourself, which is a horrible combo. No, I'm absolutely certain.
Yeah.
You want to check it? No.
Well, they have
We're gonna
this
do it
whole,
this
like,
wrong way.
The hard drive is in the other room. I don't know. I mean, I'm not technical,
Yeah.
so they'll say things like that. The hard drive is in the other room, or it's with the other session, so we can't actually play it for you right now.
The network's down with, we can't do it.
We crashed. Yeah. That used to happen a lot back in the
I'm
day.
trying to get to lunch quick.
Did you guys ever have like the situation where the entire system crashed?
For sure.
I mean, Pro Tools crashes all the time. But I don't, yeah, we've had our network go down.
I don't necessarily think it's Pro Tools that crashes. I think it's how long can you keep the max? which president was in office when we bought this Mac?
Yeah, yeah, that's...
We had, like, back in the day, at 4 Kids, we had like 5 different studios, and if one studio crashed, they all crashed. It was so strange. There, at one point, the systems were all like combined in this like control room. I don't know, and it was just like, we're all down for 20 minutes. Let's go in the kitchen and eat some bagels. You know, all the actors would be like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, we're all crashed for a while.
That's some engineer that has like a brake button, like, oh man, all the computers went down. Every room, I don't know what happened.
Oh my God! I'm
Okay, I
gonna
can
call
smoke
Joe
now.
Vegas after this and ask him.
Great. So once you have all of your performances recorded, and that includes something that is called Walla, which is it's also kind of lost in terms of what its origins, but either means the actual like background noise of being like walla 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 walla, or it can mean with all actors,
I think it's that one.
I thought it was watermelon, watermelon, watermelon.
or with all actors.
We saw actors.
Cool. Which means that you get like, you know, hopefully only 4 people in a booth to do background chatter, and then also bit parts, little one-offs like characters that don't have names.
You went that way.
We went that way. Put that gun down. But yeah, so after all of that stuff is place that you do what is called a booth review, which is where you do a pass where you watch the episode or you watch the movie or watch the movie in chunks. And then your engineer will refine and like scooch things and make sure that it's matching up with the flaps. Man, which is a whole other, like, flap matching is a whole other bag of beans to talk about, because there's so much in the Japanese that is not, doesn't necessarily match. And it could be because the animation isn't finished, it could be for a lot of reasons. But there is definitely, like, there are times that I've had to, and have recently directed a AAA show where they, I'm just ADing, but there was clearly like a lot going on, like mouth movements, arm movements from behind, and the writer just was just like, hey, don't go that way, and it went on like forever, and I had to write in a lot of things to make all of that, of course, without changing.
I assure you, that's the wrong direction. Don't go that way.
Well, actually, and then once this,
and or madam.
There was some people that were running away from a very large beast, and I was not born in Florida, but I moved to Florida when I was like 6, and like the first day of kindergarten, they teach you how to run away from alligators, and I had alligators in the creek behind my house, and like cottonmouths, moccasins. It was wild. I had a stick in a creek to play with. That's
And you're still with us today.
and still with us today.
Aaron Roberts, everyone.
but the
He's
first,
from Florida.
the first day of kindergarten, they teach you to run in serpentine, because alligators can clock at like 35 miles per hour. It's crazy. So there was nowhere for these two characters to go. They were running away from this thing. And so as this background character is waving their arms, I just wrote in, Serpentine! Serpentine! And it is in the show, man. It is in the show forever. It helped that like the actor who was voicing that tertiary character, or like bit part character, was also from Jacksonville, Florida, where I'm from. Anyway, blah blah blah. Anyway, so you get all that stuff, bit parts, blah blah blah. You do a flat pass, or hopefully the engineer gets to it first. But you do a booth review, and then you send it off to mix, and then mix does. Mix engineer does a bunch of mixing, where they adjust vocals to background tracks. They put filters. They make a cake. They put filters for like characters wearing a mask or whatever, and mix all that. And then you as a director, take one more look at it to make sure that everything is okie dokie. And then years later, months later, you get final video, and then that's matched up with the audio that you recorded, and then you get to do a home video review, and hopefully that goes smoothly. But sometimes it's not.
It goes to home video.
If it does go home to home video. Otherwise, it lives forever.
I'm one of those annoying actors who's like, let me try and do it without a filter. Like you're inside a jar, you're like, you know?
I love that.
It's fun. I think it's fun to try, like if you're underwater, a little water in there and, you know. I like it. Like when actors try.
underwater.
That's easier. I should try that next time.
It's less messy.
It is
And you just got like nasty finger. Oh, lunch. Okay.
Does anyone have any questions? Yes, have we voiced characters or have characters that have a what kind of barrier? Language barrier?
Oh, you heard?
With a respirator.
Oh, had a character with a respirator?
I've had characters that definitely had something on their face. I don't know if it's specifically a respirator before. Sometimes it's masked, sometimes it's, yeah, I don't know if I've specifically had that.
Not specifically, no.
Yeah, I haven't either. Wow, that's something none of us have done.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I hear you. Anyone else? Yes.
Just out of curiosity, either as directors or as actors, what is the weirdest instruction you have either given or gotten in the booth?
I mean,
It's a
sometimes,
daily occurrence.
sometimes it's just funny and like a wording of something. Like there could be a sentence like, "We have to get out of here, but we need to do it in a safe way," and the word butt is in an inappropriate place, like don't hit the butt so hard, be careful when you tap the butt, all those sorts of things where like, like that happens frequently when there's an unfortunate word in the middle of the instruction.
I had a producer of the show. Are there kids in the audience or no? Okay. I had a producer of one of the shows like take over for like a week because the director wasn't there, and she was hilarious. Not used to talking to the actors, so she would just be like, it's like, fuck it, you know? Like she just said basically the word fuck in every single piece of direction, before, during, or after. And I was just, by the end of the session, we were just laughing hysterically, and I was like, it's a verb and a noun and a pronoun. It's everything, isn't it? And she's like,
Yeah.
pretty much.
I'm a big proponent of that.
It helps.
Yeah. If I'm explaining the scene of like, here's what else going on, and you're working for me, there's like a 100% money back guarantee that F will be in a lot of my instruction. But I also like, I'm reading the room, the engineer, they're cool with it. The actor, this is great. We're gonna have this. This is gonna be an F party.
Yeah, I also asked permission for cursing. So I had someone say like the character that I was portraying, I was like, hey, they need to sound like they just smoked a cigarette and slapped a hooker on the ass. And I was like, come on, man, sex worker. Anyone else?
Thanks for joining us, children.
We did a child check. No child raised their hand.
Right? Yeah, no children.
Yes.
I was curious if you're allowed to divulge what show and episode was that Serpentine?
You're gonna be looking for it?
It's an Easter egg that you will.
That's an ongoing hunt for you now. That's how that's gonna work.
But the chances that it's going to end up in Adult Swim or Toonami are very high. Yes.
Firstly, Erica, I was wondering if you knew that there are several Pokemon that are dubbed with the lip flappy thing.
Oh, that are dubbed. I'm so sorry. What do you mean?
Use
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, that's Lunatone and Magnezone. There are quite a few. It's all
I
over
did
YouTube.
not know that. So, do you guys know, just since we're talking about funny voice sounds and stuff like that, that how a binky, the sound of a binky, how that's made? You go like that.
Oh.
If you're playing a baby with a sucker in its mouth. Because I played a lot of babies. So you just have to take your tongue and do it, and put it underneath your bottom and pull it over. And that's how it's done.
Outstanding.
It's fun, right? Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Question for Mike.
Yeah.
When directing Chainsaw Man, how was it like working with Franco Levy?
It was great. I'd worked with Ryan on one or two things before, so I was familiar with him and what he could do. He is a wonderful actor. He's a wonderful human. He's very, very kind, very giving, and he will also, especially with that particular show and that character's, swing for the bleachers. He will work, and he will do his best on that, and I super appreciate it. He's also very knowledgeable of the manga and the universe itself. So every so often it'd be like, oh, can we do this one little thing here with this? I'm like, why? What's going on? He's like, this, and a manga chapter, whatever. I'm like, I believe you. Let me look it up real quick. Yes, let's do that. Things like that. Or if I have an idea, like, this degenerate sounds like they would say this instead of this thing. He's like, they would. I'm like, well, then we're changing the script right now. And by change the script, we're not like, we're going to put a werewolf on the show. We're trying to honor like the way that the character would speak more possibly than what's already written there, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, like, if there's a werewolf on the show, great. I just don't want to invent one. But Ryan's great.
Yes.
Out of all the animes you've directed, who's your favorite voice actor you've worked with?
Who's my
that's
favorite
gonna
voice
be a
actor
funny
I've worked with?
question.
It's most of them. Yeah. Most voice actors are the favorite voice actors I've worked with. Some voice actors are like second place favorite.
It's
But they're either
who
one or
your
the
favorite
other.
child is, right? Or
Yeah.
your favorite Pokemon. Too hard.
I mean, I just appreciate that there are folks that are really, really good at it, and we can get the job done and have fun. I mean, I was recently working on something where the content was super, super, super sad and depressing, and I am someone like, I want to unfortunately live in that world while that's going on. So not at the end of every take, I'm like, hey, it's joke time. Look, 'cause that, to me, that screws up your brain. Like that screws up the mood of what you're trying to create. So it's good to work with people who understand that and want to like honor that and live in that world with me. And then if we're working on something like One Piece, and for the bulk of it, we can have a lot of fun like that, and know when at certain times when the show gets dark that we got to go and get dark with it and stay dark. I don't have a favorite. I just there's so many people that I'm so fortunate to work with and respect what they do. That I feel lucky, and that makes me not able to pick favorites. So, there's a lot of them.
That's awesome.
I've worked with these two records, they're great.
Mike McFarland was willing to slum it and come in for episode 5 of season 4 of Date Alive and play the big bad wolf. And it was pretty great. And I didn't have to, it's nice that you don't have to direct someone.
It's a wolf theme today. We have to tell at least one more wolf story.
I'm a big Jesse James Greeley fan. He's really easy. They're really easy to work with, and
They're great.
Mallory Rodak, and man, I don't know. There's just a lot. Like Alexis Tipton is a flat matching beast, and you don't really have to mess with them too much. Monica Real is really great to work with. She always comes in excited and prepared and flexible. It's just someone who's. So it's like that's the thing that is crazy. It's like there are people that have been doing this for a very long time that are still kind and gracious and so like and she has been able to. She's classically trained. Like she did musical theater, and there's a difference. People who don't have a lot of training. Their voice tends to degrade over time, and Monica Real has been able to maintain her childlike voices and also do like other deep, like she's maintained her range and whatnot.
She's also someone who, to keep throwing her props because they're well deserved, she's someone who still takes joy in doing the job every single time she goes in. She loves it. She loves to do the work, and she has such a good time with it. She has a very specific laugh when she does the take that she loves the whole lot of whatever, and she'll clap or whatever, or like this little. It's so precious.
I think it's important to, I tell like my students, check your ego at the door. At any time you're going to be asked to do anything in any level of experience, if someone wants me to play third spear thrower from the left, I'm going to do it because it serves the piece. And that's the most important thing, is to please the director. It really is. It's like, that's your job as an actor. Your job is not to say, well, I think it should be this. Like, you come in with a strong idea, you give it to them, and they're like, that's not it. You go, well, what would you like? You know, I am plastic, just like I'm elastic. Like, give me what you want, and I can, make that happen. It's the most important quality of a voice actor, to really just check the ego at the door and be flexible.
Yeah, amen. I think we have time for just one more question. Yes, in the middle.
Have you ever had to play character for a transformation, and how do you deal with it?
Yes, and then it depends on what kind of transformation. Because speaking of werewolves, been a werewolf. I've been, let's see, a human that was taken over by an alien and then turned into a human alien giant ape. And then that ape had superpowers beyond being giant ape. Like, there's a whole bunch of transformations you go through. You can play off the visual, you can play off what the Seiyu did, the Japanese voice actor. If there are effects on it, you can either try to just what Erica was doing earlier, let me do the effects myself. You can try to replicate that, or try to break down how it was that they did that so that you could do the same type of read, so that when the same type of effects are on it, it'll sound the same, if you really want to get that deep into it.
I hope somebody recorded that because I want to listen to it again.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. I'm like, wait,
And then there's
you can do it that way.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways. Transformation, it could also just be like a good person turning into a heel, turning into an awful person. Or they were an awful person the whole time and they had a really good mask and you thought they were great. There's all sorts of different transformations.
Yeah, and Fairy Tale, I played Little Samuel and then Samuel's Beast Mode. So that's the thing. Uta in Tokyo Ghoul transforms into his more monstrous form, which is a little bit of a difference. And D. Gray Man, my character Howard Link, was possessed by a child at one point in time, which is that was a day because I didn't warm up my higher register that day, and I felt like a ding dong. And it's like, oh, okay, this is why you do this, Aaron. Anyway, it worked out. But yeah, what else? I feel like oh man, it's not a show for children. I think they've changed the name of it, but it's Case File number 221 Kabukicho. And I think they changed it to Sherlock Kabukicho, maybe. But it is basically a lot of they pull the characters from Sherlock Holmes and like slam them into this red light district in Japan. And my Futo in that series, just like all over the place. A lot of fun. Some of the best work I've ever done. But he does at some point in time turn into a raging, like a homicidal maniac.
What's that show called?
Case File 221? Number 221?
And Ian plays Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it is ridiculous.
Yeah, Austin Tyndall is Watson.
Awesome.
There's a lot of interesting work being.
Mrs. Hudson.
Oh my God! And Garrett Storms. Garrett Storms plays like this, like open shirt, like hairy.
Fabio.
This guy's just like, yeah, baby. Like it's just like, it's really great. Anyway, I think it's all the time we have. Thank you all so much for being here this weekend. Thank you for coming to the panel. Thank you. Come by our tables. If you have more questions, come talk to us.
Yeah, we'll probably be at the tables, and if not, that means we're just eating lunch or something. But we'll be at the tables in the
Probably about 15 minutes.
in the hall pretty soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.